Welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast, where we explore holistic approaches to health, wellness, and personal growth. My name is Sophia Soul, the co-creator of Sacred You. On today's show, we are joined by Jennifer Passavant, a talented holistic healer. Jennifer uses an extraordinary blend of modalities, including intuitive spiritual consulting, health and wellness consulting, and her signature channeled alchemical energy healing to create personal transformative experiences for her clients. In this episode, we will explore how our subconscious beliefs, often formed in early childhood, can shape our lives and relationships. Jennifer shares techniques to help us recognize these deeply embedded wounds and guides us through practical steps for transformation. If you'd like to dive deeper into this journey of self-discovery and help support Sacred You, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, or check us out at www.sacredyou, that's the letter U, .love for more valuable resources. So let's get started on today's conversation. Welcome to today's episode, and with me today is the beautiful Jennifer Passavant. Thank you for joining us, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
All good. And we're having a wonderful conversation about an interesting topic all about reprogramming our subconscious mind and how it can help us heal. Because I know, Jennifer, even from my experience, when especially as a young child, we absorb so much into our subconscious and we don't realize it, but it affects our whole life.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why people will find that they have repeated types of relationships and they keep getting triggered by the same types of situations because that's their subconscious wounding attracting these people and situations and experiences to them to go, hello, you have this wound here, see me. Yeah, absolutely.
And it is true, isn't it? The wounds are there. We don't always realize it. So how can we really know? Like, how can we really know that we've got something that is in our subconscious mind? We're not consciously aware of it, but it's there. So what's the first step in releasing this? How do we know?
The first step, the painfully obvious first step, is that you're a human, so you always will have subconscious wounding. But it's really learning to be self-aware of what your triggers are, what hurts your feelings, what makes you angry, what types of repeating patterns do you see. It's having that level of self-awareness to go, I'm having this, I'm in another relationship where this guy's a narcissist, or this woman's a codependent, or I keep having bosses that keep making me feel like I'm not good enough, or those types of repeating patterns, when you start to see them, they're showing you what your wound is. So when you stop looking at the other person or the situation, when you stop looking outside of yourself and start looking at why do you hurt? Why do you keep having these recurring relationships? That's a you thing, right? It's not a them thing. That's a you thing. And that learning to have self-awareness is absolutely key.
It would be, wouldn't it? And it's so easy in one way and also such a challenging experience, but really, as you said, to really become aware of those patterns. And that can be in all sorts of situations, can't it? Not just relationships, like personal relationships, but you did mention like work and everything else. And what about like jobs and even money?
Oh gosh, yes, I have learned even through personal experience, but your relationship to your own self-value directly impacts your relationship with money and whether or not you feel worthy of receiving money. So if you don't feel worthy of receiving love, appreciation, if you don't feel like you have value, then that will determine your relationship with money. It's really interesting.
It would be, wouldn't it? Can we go into that deeper? So if we don't have value, and that value stemmed from childhood,
Yes.
What can happen? Would you like to give some examples? Either
Yeah. If your subconscious mind holds the belief that you lack value, that you're not worthy of receiving love, right? Whether you were abandoned as a child, whether you had a parent that treated you poorly. And so children, let me to just back up and lay some groundwork for just subconscious programming in general when it comes to childhood wounding. Children always experience life very personally. And what I mean by that is that no matter what happens to them or what happens even around them, they internalize it as if it's happening because of them. So even if parents get divorced, it must be because I'm not, my parents got divorced and my daddy left me. It's because I'm not good enough to stay around for, right? They just assume it's about them. That's how kids perceive. And kids also are always in this, especially before the age of 7, they're in this constant alpha state, which is a very receptive, very pliable state of mind. They're basically in a constant state of meditation where their subconscious mind is extremely pliable. And so when you put those two together, that's a recipe for programming. And so what they're exposed to is directly impacts what is programmed and then how they experience life in the future. Okay, so now that I've laid that groundwork for the audience, so let's use that previous example. Parents got divorced, daddy left. He must not love me enough. I must not be worthy of receiving love. There must be something wrong with me. That's how the child interprets that. It might not be a conscious thing because it's typically not, but that's how the subconscious mind is programmed. When the person then grows up with that continuous subconscious belief of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of receiving love, that automatically translates to, I'm not worthy of receiving money. And so it will impact the type of job that they get, whether how well they can hold on to money. Sometimes they can get it, but they can't hold on to it because I'm not worthy of having this sort of thing. It can be where you always end up with like dead end jobs. You always feel like you're struggling, always have some sort of new bill to pay, but you just can't seem to get enough or hold on to your money. And you'll find that your same struggle that you have with your relationship with money will automatically line up with your relationship with love. Even for people who are, how shall I say this? Even for the people that you might perceive as being in, say, a good, healthy relationship, you don't know what happens behind closed doors, right? So they might be in what appears to be a good relationship and have a horrible relationship with money. But unless you know what's going on behind closed doors, that's not a safe assumption.
So true, isn't it? We tend to perceive a lot and judge a lot and things like that without actually really knowing people's stories. So
Yeah.
you really have to be careful of them for sharing that. And I'd love to go back with what you just said, especially as a childhood and around relationships. If you're a very young child and your parents do break up or have trouble, and we tend, as children, you tend to blame yourself. I know for me personally, I blamed myself for quite a while for my parents' divorce until when I was a little bit older, when my mother said no, it had nothing to do with me. It was all to do with money. They had, their money issues. But yet, as a young child, we absorb that and take it in. And that can happen so very much.
Mhm.
And with other situations too. I know you can be at school or you're walking down the road or anything. You see quite a lot, especially in shopping centres and stuff. People can just say one thing to you, but as a child, we perceive it differently and it goes deep into our subconscious cellular memories.
It sure does. They're wounding out on you. And then as a child, you just assume that it must be true. Absolutely. Childhood bullying can have that same impact if you have a parent that's very hard on you and you can never meet their expectations. That's a real tough wound because then you never assume you're good enough, but you'll always be striving to be better. And there's this constant need to then prove that you're good enough and prove to meet desire to meet expectations and exhaust yourself trying to be this version of you that is unattainable, all because you had a parent that for whatever reason, basically probably treated you the way that parent was treated as a child, quite frankly, because wounds are often repeated throughout the family. However a parent was treated as a child, they will become, oftentimes, this is a generalization, this is not written in stone, but they will oftentimes, if they're not aware of the wound that they have, they will then perpetuate that wound onto their own children.
The cycle keeps repeating and you break it. So tell us, Jennifer, how do we break that cycle?
Sure. Like I said before, becoming self-aware of those repeating cycles, of the repeating relationships, of the things that hurt, of the things that cause anger, really looking at how you respond to situations. That is the number one key to clue you into what your subconscious wounds are. And then you got to start asking questions. Why do I have that wound? Where did that come from? And what perception do I have of myself when someone does this or says this, or when I'm in this relationship type thing? Because it's really all about you and why you're responding the way you're responding, right? And once you ask enough why questions and you dive deeply enough, you come to the core wound. And I like to call that the lie. That's the lie we've been programmed to believe about ourselves. That is complete and utter crap, but it's what we've, been programmed to believe. And once you can, and there's usually more than one, it's usually, a few of them. And once you can get a good statement of the lie that you were programmed with, whether it's, I lack value, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of receiving love, I'm not worthy of you staying, like you don't love me enough to stay, so I'm not worthy of receiving love in order to have someone stay in my life. Whatever the belief is, whatever the lie is, then you can start working on, okay, so then what's the opposite of that? What's the truth? What's a truth statement? And once you have your truth statements, and you can have more than one, you can start to look at ways to reprogram the subconscious mind in such a way that the subconscious mind is receptive to. And the first thing people think of is say affirmations, say those truth statements as affirmations. Except that how many times do people say affirmations, they just repeat them, and after a while it's, I have value, I am worthy of receiving love, I am rich beyond my wildest dreams. There's no, how should I say this, the subconscious mind does not speak in spoken language and words, and it certainly doesn't speak in that sort of monotone, emotionless way of speaking, right? The subconscious mind is symbols, sounds, emotions, feelings, even sensorial feelings like touch. Did I say colors? I meant to say colors if I didn't say colors. But it's all sense, even if I haven't said sense. It's not about the spoken word. And on top of that, it's on, how shall I say? It's best to get into an alpha or theta state. If you're in beta or gamma, that's not where the subconscious mind is. That's where the conscious mind is. That's the doing brain. To get to the subconscious mind, you have to slow your brain waves into an alpha or a theta state. So once you're there and you've got your truth statements, then it's not about saying the affirmation. Can you? Yes, the world will still spin if you say that affirmation. But the affirmation is really more of a guideline to learn how to think about, what would it feel like if I were to embody that truth, I have value, I'm worthy of being loved just because I exist, I'm worthy of receiving love because I have value and I determine my own value. Whatever your truth statements are, right? What would that feel like? What would that look like? Is there a smell that you associate that with? Is there a song that kind of makes you feel the way you would feel if you were to embody your healed aspect? And then when you're in that subconscious mind, or excuse me, when you're in that meditative state, you can play that song. You can smell an essential oil or even a blend, like you can make a blend that to you really resonates with that feeling, and you smell it while you're doing this visualization. So visualization is first key. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what you are imagining. So you want to get into that, that state that you get when you're just daydreaming and fantasizing. That is that is it. You are literally just daydreaming and fantasizing in kind of a sort of alpha state, right? That's when you're pliable, right? And so start fantasizing, start imagining you being this version of you. And how does your body change? Do you roll your shoulders down and back and you've opened your heart because you no longer feel like you have to protect yourself and hide and curl yourself in? But no, I'm going to shine my light. I love myself. I feel good about myself. I'm going to open my heart. I'm going to lift my head up. I'm going to straighten my spine and make myself good and tall. What types of things would you say? Here's the kicker. In those situations when you would typically respond in a very triggered way, how would you respond differently? What would the healed version of you say? How would the healed version of you feel in that situation? Because it certainly wouldn't be the way you would typically feel. And you really want to play it out. And you want to play it out like you're visualizing through your eyes, not like you're observing yourself from a distance, but through your own eyes. And again, you can incorporate the smells, you can incorporate the sounds, you can even do an NLP technique where you will tap yourself or touch yourself in a really random spot, some spot that you would never accidentally, like you wouldn't want to tap the palm of your hand because you might do that if you're clapping your hands. You don't want to mimic that. So something weird like tapping the back of your back or the back of your head or your hip or whatever. And while you're feeling these feelings of, I feel so at peace, I feel so confident, and I feel so joyful, and I'm seeing myself experience this or respond this different way and act this different way, you can tap yourself or touch yourself wherever it is you want to choose. And that will start to ground into you this feeling so that whenever you want to generate it, you can tap yourself in whatever way you did in that moment. And it will help you to help your brain recall that state in your waking life. So you're going to go have a really tough conversation with your boss, right? And you have been practicing, you have been visualizing. That's like rehearsing, right, for real life. And you've been doing the tapping or touching yourself wherever, and you've got it solidified. Okay, now rubber hits the road. You're going to go in, you're going to talk to your boss. He intimidates the ever-loving bejesus out of you, and you always feel like you're not good enough. And so before you walk in, you shift your posture. You tap yourself wherever it is you need to tap yourself wherever it was you were tapping yourself during that meditative state. Before you go, you could have the essential oils on your hands, smell those essential oils, whatever you want to do. But that will help your brain recall what it was you were visualizing when you were in that meditative state of how to operate from your healed self. And you will be more likely to respond that way. Now, reprogramming your subconscious mind is not a one-off. This takes time and it takes practice. It was really easy for those grooves to be engraved into your subconscious mind, like the record, right? It takes time now. As an adult, we're a lot less pliable. We're a lot less pliable as adults. So it takes a while for the brain to really get it and have it click. So give yourself grace, give yourself time, but practice over and over again. And you'll find that over time, you are more likely to respond in the way that you rehearsed in your mind than you would have responded from your unhealed aspect. That was a lot. Sorry.
That was a lot, but thank you. And you make it sound so easy, but I can get that, and I agree, it's not a one-off thing.
No.
Now, tell us, Jennifer, you said to practice over time. How much are we talking about? Is this a daily thing that people need to do? Or how often can we practice this?
I would say the more often you practice it, the better, quite honestly. Like when Olympic athletes they use this same exact technique, only they use the technique in order to pre-rehearse how they're gonna throw the shot put so far, whatever it is. They do the exact same thing. And the more often you do it, the more likely it is your body and your emotions and everything else will respond in the way that it was rehearsed. So daily is better. First thing in the morning, just before you go to sleep, whatever works best for you. But the meat and taters is do it as often as you can, but the more often you do it, the better. And everybody's different with regard to how long it'll take before you're reprogrammed. You'll only know that because it also depends on the degree to which you were programmed, right? So you'll only know it when you start to respond differently. And the cool thing is, okay, so let's say you've been practicing and you go in and talk to your boss. We'll just keep using this analogy because we've been going with it for a while. And shoot, you felt really intimidated, you felt really nervous, and you couldn't formulate your words right, and you just didn't sound eloquent, and you didn't sound smart, and you're just kicking yourself, and oh, I wish I'd have said this, and I wish I'd have done that, da 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 da. But the bonus is now you can look back and you can do what's called revisioning. And you can go, okay, I did it again. I responded out of my fear, out of my wounded aspect, out of my not feeling good enough, blah, 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 blah. But I'm going to replay that scenario in my mind at the end of the day. Neville Goddard was famous for teaching this. I adore him. I think he's such a wonderful teacher. Where you replay those parts of the day that you wish would have gone differently. And it's literally like rewriting a script. And that still talks to your subconscious mind because you do it before bed, you do it in that alpha state, and you just fantasize that it went differently. Instead of fantasizing with an angry, how some people will kick themselves and be like, oh, if I only had said, that's not the point. It's really about almost like rewriting history. And so you really do, you don't want to do it in a frame of mind of like kicking your own rear end. You want to do it with the emotional state that you would have preferred to have been in when you're doing the revisioning. Does that make sense when I say that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
It makes total sense. It's
Good.
like fantasizing or daydreaming, if I can say, being the person that you want to be, being
That's exactly what it is.
your best self, that you're stepping into that power of who you really want to be in your mind, in your body.
Absolutely.
And that will go into your subconscious mind.
Yes. And that's true inner healing. There are a lot of, how should I say this? In the spiritual community, there are those that focus, and I feel like these are people that are more early in their awakening phase, where they're more focused on trying to control the outcome of their lives, trying to control their circumstances, and finding ways to control what happens to them. And what that's doing is it's putting the power outside of themselves. They're not looking within and how to heal themselves from the inside and control how they are responding to their circumstances and situations. They're more focused on how they can control their external circumstances so that nothing bad or horrible will ever happen to them, and then that way they won't ever get hurt. That's backwards of what true healing and true ascension is. As we heal these wounds, our vibration and our frequency increases. So it's not about controlling the external world and making the world the way we want it. It's about controlling how we respond to it. And that's really what this type of thing does.
It's interesting, isn't it? Interesting. Tell us more a little bit about you, Jennifer. How long have you been helping people to reprogram themselves? And what about your life? How has this helped you in your life?
This has helped me immensely, and I'm really grateful for all of my non-preferred experiences, because all of my non-preferred experiences have put me in the position of having to learn these things. And I know that it was meant to be. Like, I know that was exactly why those experiences happened. And it was absolutely just life-changing being in the situation of, okay, I'm in this relationship and I know that my wound is this. And so I know that my job, my responsibility is that if he acts in a certain way, my job is to not take it personally and not respond from my wounded aspects. Once I became self-aware, I could put it into practice, right? And wow, was that powerful. That level, the self-awareness, had I not had that, if I didn't know what my wound was and I didn't pay attention to my emotional responses to things, I could never have learned to make a then conscious choice to not operate from it and respond differently. It was truly life-saving. And it wasn't until I learned through doing that I then later learned that it's a thing. This is a thing that you can learn. I didn't know that it was a thing. Like, I just thought it was a process that I was going through. I didn't realize that you can actually learn how to do this, not through experiences, but from like other people. Oh, really? Oh. And so it wasn't until after I gone through that, and then as I was healing, my gifts and abilities started elevating because my vibration was going up. And so that was opening up different channels. And that's how I started channeling, although I didn't know that was what was happening at the time. And I started getting messages where I remember at one time it was the grocery store, and it was like, go to the condiment aisle. I like to joke around and say it was the toilet paper aisle. It wasn't. It was more like the condiment aisle or something. And it was this, it wasn't like a voice, but it was more like a nudge, not a nudge. It was a shove. It was a shove. And so I went to that aisle and there was this person, and there were several people, but there was one person that I felt really drawn to. And I was like, okay, I know I'm supposed to say something to that person. I don't know what it is, but I'm supposed to talk to that person. And so I'd go up and pretend like I'm looking at whatever's on the shelf. And I had to find a way to start engaging in communication, not having a clue what I was supposed to say. And ultimately, they would start opening up about something. And then the words of what I was supposed to say would just flood into my head. And I'll, to use a highly overused phrase, but it's downloaded into my head. And then I just say it out. I would just say it out loud. And then it was like, and my job here is done. I would lose that feeling of urgency of you have to do something. And that happened repeatedly. It would even happen online. And that's what actually led me to what I was doing, because I remember, I'll never forget, I woke up with this, what I fondly refer to as a bug up my butt one day, where I just felt like I want to live my life's purpose and I want to live my greatest joy and bliss. And little did I know, I thought at the time that was my idea, but that was really my higher self saying, you're going to live your greatest joy and bliss in your life's purpose. Like I was being clued in, but I thought that was my genius inspiration. Oh, I'm such a silly human. And I was like, okay, but tell me, Source, what is it? What is my life's purpose? Within 2 weeks, I had 2 people that I had contact or that I had bumped into online or in person and had these conversations with, these intuitive conversations with, reach out to me. And it had been about 2 years that had passed. And out of the blue, they both reached out to me and said that I had changed their lives. And one of them I had prevented from committing suicide. And both times I sat down and I bawled because I was so touched by what they had said. And I thought, this is how I want to help people. This is what I want to do. What is this? What do you even call this? And then in a week and a half, my best friend said, hey, I was approached about being a life coach and I thought of you. And I'm like, what the frick's a life coach? And is what I'm doing life coaching? Is there a spiritual or an intuitive life coach? Is that a thing? Yep, actually, it is. Who knew? And it just snowballed. And then I started realize that I was channeling divine beings, and then they started doing energy healing through me, and it just went down. It was an amazing evolution that has allowed me to now apply not only all the weird stuff, but all the things that I learned about how to heal myself to help heal other people. Sorry, that was like the most Reader's Digest version of that story I could possibly give.
That is amazing. Thank you ever so much for sharing that. And can I just first of all just take a moment to honor you, like really, to thank you for sharing that and to honor you for bringing this whole to your gifts to the world and your journey to the world. And isn't it amazing what can happen? May not happen to everyone, but it can happen when you work on your shit, basically.
Yes.
When
Yes.
you really go into that and release those subconscious beliefs, program that stuff, and allow the magic to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. And I'll say too, I would love it if the guides that I channel would teach me a way or would send energy through me to wipe people's brains clean and then rewrite them in overnight, and you're healed. You know, I would be a bazillionaire if I could do that. And so what I've had to learn through my own experience and through helping clients is that though we, the beings that I work with, do energy healing through me, the real healing, all healing is self-healing. So all we're doing is we're getting the energetic ball rolling and looking at what's there, what needs to be healed. But then I teach the person, okay, not only let's look at what's there, what needs to be healed, what needs to be reprogrammed. Okay, then let me show you how you can do it. Because if the person doesn't do their own inner work, the energy is going to go right back to the way it was before we did the energy healing, because the root cause of the energetic blockage or disruption or distortion would not have been cleared. The person really needs to be empowered to do their own inner work and not look to healers to heal them. How should I say? Not look to healers as do the work for me, but rather I'm going to look to the healer as someone who's going to get the energetic shift rolling and help you to do your own inner healing. That's really where the empowerment comes from. And that's my meat and taters. That's what I love, is empowering my clients. And instead of taking the power away and going, ha, look at me, I'm amazing, I've healed you. That's not how it works.
Agreed. Yes, it would be nice if we could just wipe it all out in a second
I
and
know.
program it with the magic wand and stuff. But no,
Yeah.
doesn't. It's not all that way anymore. We now live in a world, unfortunately, where we want quick fixes. But the most powerful experiences come over time when we do the work ourselves.
Yes.
And it's like being guided to wonderful people like yourself, who, like you said, can just start it off, start that ball rolling. Because I know there's a lot of people in our world, in our community, and even myself a few years ago, it's like, where do I even start? I've got, talk about shit in our mind, all this stuff in our subconscious mind. Like, where do you even start? Because you start here and that leads to there, and that leads to there, and that leads to there, and that leads to there. And that can be quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
Then when
Yeah.
we reach out and we're guided to people like your beautiful self who can help us on that journey.
Yeah. And sometimes we're blind, right? We get blind to our own wounds. So sometimes you've got a wound, but you can't necessarily see what it is and how it's impacting all of these different areas of your life. And so people like us are here to, when you come to us and say, hey, I keep having these relationship issues, or I'm having issues with my parents, or I'm having issues with my whatever, career, whatever it is. When you have someone who can say, let's look into that. How does that make you feel? How do you feel emotionally about that? And how does that experience make you perceive yourself? What is your perception of yourself? All right. Are there any experiences in your past that reflect that same feeling? Oh, your relationship with your mom. Okay, let's look at that. Let's look at your relationship with your mom. Okay, so you can see that's where the program originated and how that's now impacting all these other areas of your life. But you also know that's not true. Okay, what's the lie? Let's make a lie statement. Okay, what's the truth? Da, da. When you have someone who is what I think of as being a light worker, where they're literally walking you through your subconscious wounding and shining a flashlight on all of those dark corners that you couldn't see yourself, and helping you to become aware of it without spoon feeding you the information, but helping you to become aware of the thing that's always been there that you just couldn't see. And boy, can that be helpful when you've got, because I had channelers and people who were there to say, this is your wound and your job is to not respond this way. And like, wow, did that make overcoming the wound easy? Because it's, oh, now I know it doesn't actually have anything to do with me. It doesn't have to do with my values. So I don't have to take that personally. And it can be like night and day. It can feel like a freaking miracle just having that level of self-awareness that it's not, that the way someone else treats you has nothing to do with you, and that you can control how you respond. It's absolutely amazing. So if I can give that to somebody else and help them become aware of those things, boy, is that helpful. But to me, to go back to my original point, is that a light worker is to help highlight or show people what their wounds are, shine a light on the shadow, right? The shadow being our subconscious wounding. And we are the archetypal hero. When I say we, those of us who are going through a healing experience, we are our own hero going through our own hero's journey of going into our subconscious mind and fighting the dragon, fighting our inner beast, our inner ego, our inner wounding. And sometimes those friends you meet along the way, or those weapons that Merlin hands you, or whatever, used to use the Jungian archetype and the Arthurian archetype of the hero's journey. Those are the healers that we meet along our path that empower us with the ability to heal ourselves. So
thank you. And it's so true. And again, it's meeting those people. And for everyone who is watching or listening to our podcast, do reach out to Jennifer. Click on the links below and reach out. And Jennifer, are you available just for someone to connect and have a quick chat?
oh yeah, I call them transformation consultations, and it's really just like a 15-minute free phone call. I use either, if you're in the States, I have a phone number. Otherwise, if you're international, I have a Skype account that you can reach out to me and to give me a Skype call, and we can talk about what are your issues? Are we a good fit? Can I help you? And do you want to set up a session? So yeah, and not just me. I mean, go with whoever resonates. I don't care who you reach out to, just do your healing. Get yourself healed. Heal yourself. Heal
And
your
it's
shit.
because we've all got it. It's nothing to
Yes.
be, ashamed of. There are people in the world who go, oh no, I don't have any crap, I'm fine. No, we live in the world now, in today's world. We've all got
Yep.
we've all got those dark places, our subconscious beliefs that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And it's actually an inspiration for others when we can bring that out and reprogram them. But I'd love to know, Jennifer, especially from your experience, is there any dangers in reprogramming our subconscious mind? Can there be any dangers at all? And how?
The only danger that I have seen is when it's with a very deep, powerful, tragic trauma. And that is one of those circumstances where if the trauma was so dark and, how shall I say, destructive that you even disassociated and don't remember it, that is not when you seek out a coach. That even doing a regression therapy can be dangerous because you can re-traumatize yourself. So that's there. How should I say this? Okay, thank you. You don't necessarily have to go back through the wounding all over again. You don't have to relive it in order to heal. It's really a matter of looking at how you responded to the experience and reprogramming your response. There we go.
Love it. Thank you.
Had to get that from them. Sorry.
And it's so powerful and it's so true because a lot of people think you've got to go back and relive stuff. Go through
Yeah.
it. You don't. It's just understanding it and able to let it go. And what about for people, we're talking about visualizing and fantasizing and stuff. What about for people who don't see, who can't see anything? Does that mean that there is a blockage, a traumatic blockage there? Or is it just something that it's more into the feelings that you really don't have to be able to see everything?
It's definitely the latter because not everybody is a visual person. Sometimes they're more auditory, sometimes they're more physically, sensorily stimulated. That's when you lean into those things. So, like in those moments, you could do somatic healing. So, you could say, feel the feelings, right? Whatever feeling it is that you want to, that is of your healed self. And you can give yourself those comforting squeezes and rubs. This gives the subconscious mind a sensation of being safe and secure, right? A sense of safety and security, which is the meat and taters of what you want to feel when you're a kid. So here's something interesting. When you're a child, you don't experience love through your heart chakra. You experience receiving love through your root chakra. And the root chakra is our source of safety, security, and support, right? And it's only when we get older that we experience love through our heart chakra. So giving yourself that physical rub of safety, security, and support, and you can have the olfactory sensation of sense. We can use the music and generating the emotions. If you can do that, you're good. You don't have to. Visualizing helps because it's gonna allow your brain to go, oh, we're in the real world, are we? Okay, this is really happening. And that because your brain can't tell the difference that it's not. But that doesn't mean you're not reprogrammable if you can't be visual.
Yes, which is good because, like you said, not everyone can visualize, and it's okay. It's more
Yes.
that like I feel everything. When someone says, "Can you see this?" I go, "No."
Yep.
I feel it. So it's really important
Yes.
to use those different words too, because some people can see very clearly, where other people hear, as you say, they're auditory, and other people really can get the feeling. It helps whatever way we are. We can use that to our advantage to go into those deeper states and to really feel the feeling.
Yeah, feeling the feeling is Integral. That is part and parcel. The visualization only helps to ground it in reality when you end up in reality. That's really all it is. It's like rehearsal. But the feeling is really and the embodiment of it, the physical embodiment of it, the feeling, the emotion, and embodying it is really the crux of becoming that. So if you can't see it, but you can do that, you're golden.
Thank you. Thank you. And what about for someone who's just starting on their journey?
Start with the self-awareness. Really, I cannot stress enough how important self-awareness is. That is step one. Step one. And then move into, again, I would say once you become self-aware and you start taking notes, journaling is great for this. I use voice memos. Some people are writers, but as you become aware of your wounds, start journaling. What is your wound? What is the lie you've been programmed to believe? Okay, so well, then what's the truth? If it helps you to start with saying the affirmations, say the affirmations, because that at least brings it to your conscious mind how shall I say this? What the healed version of you wants to feel, wants to believe, right? But of course, our subconscious mind is going, that's not true. That's not how I feel. When you can shift into the feeling of it, I'm gonna pretend this is real for me. I'm gonna pretend like this is who I am. I am the person who knows that this is the truth of myself, right? And I'm going to generate these feelings in meditation. It really is that easy to start there. It really is. But again, if you're someone who doesn't know what those things are, if you're someone who can't quite pinpoint what the lie is, what the wound is, you can see you're having troubles, you can see you're having repeated issues, and you can see that you're unhappy, but you don't know what the wound is and why you're feeling what you're feeling, and you can't really put words to it. That's where you can contact people like yourself or people like me. You can contact light workers who are gifted with being able to do that and get help. But self-awareness is step one.
And I would guess a continual step of just being aware of other stuff, because we've got so many wounds.
We're like onions.
We are. And when we take one layer off or address one wound, that will open up a hole that is ready for to become aware of. Because I really believe, Jennifer, and I'd love to know your thoughts too before we finish up, is, we're only faced with things that we can handle. And stuff only comes up because we are ready. It's like the universe is showing you are ready to let this go. You're ready to heal this wound. And if we weren't ready, it wouldn't be there in our awareness. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Oh, 100, absolutely. And that's where if people can pull themselves out of victim mode and be like, instead of being like, oh, this thing's happening to me and it sucks. Okay, be there for a little bit. It sucks. You're right. This is not fun. But once you can go, okay, but why am I choosing to respond this way? Okay, it's hard, but I'm going to look at why is this happening and what can I do with this? What can I learn from this? How can I heal from this? How can I shift how I'm responding to this? Then you're in control. You're no longer a victim of circumstance. You're in control of the circumstance because you're controlling how you respond to it. As soon as you shift how you respond to your circumstances, you start attracting different and new and better circumstances. So yeah, absolutely. When you can see all of the, what I like to call non-preferred experiences as blessings and opportunities for healing and growth instead of just crappy experiences that happen to us, that empowers you when you can shift into that. This isn't fun. I don't enjoy this, but I know that this is a blessing. I know that this is an opportunity, and I'm going to do the best I can with this. Yeah, everything is a gift, even our non-preferred experiences.
And it is true. I find that myself, that even all the challenges are there to make us stronger.
Yeah.
Thank you ever so much, Jennifer. And before we finish up, is there any other question that I could have asked you? And how would you answer?
I think just so people have a clear understanding of who I am and what I do, just a quick say that I refer to myself as a holistic healer because I do the intuitive spiritual life coaching, which is pretty much what we've been talking about today. But I'm also a health and wellness coach. I've been interested in health and healing and herbs and nutrition and stuff since I was in the 7th grade because because I'm a nerd. But as I briefly mentioned, I do also channel a seraph angel who refers to himself as Ian for my sake, as well as the Ascended Master Kuan Yin, and they both work in tandem. They come in through the back of my heart chakra, and they send their respective energies through me and move me to work on your chakric system and energetic field. And so I was guided to call that, they wanted me to call it channeled alchemical energy healing, because it starts the shift of transformation, right? But tacked on with that, with every energy healing session, there's always going to be that intuitive spiritual life coaching session of, okay, this is what we've discovered in the healing. This is what we found. What is it? Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's heal it. And so that's why I call myself a holistic healer, because I like to do mind, body, and soul, because we're all a system. Everything's connected. None of it is separated. There you go. That's the meat and taters of me.
Thank you for sharing that. And it would be very interesting to have a session with you, which I'm going to reach out and stuff. And I said, I really encourage everyone else who is watching or listening, do click on the links below, because I said, it's the whole thing. We try and heal one part, but it makes so much more sense and is such a deeper experience when we can look at our bodies and our whole being as a holistic being. As I said, our body, our spirit, our soul, and heal, unblock those or reprogram the subconscious mind, heal the body from any suppressed emotions that are causing any illnesses or whatever that may be. Free the soul.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The nervous system. You just hit on something. The nervous system and how the fascia and the meridians and the chakras, because that's all nervous system stuff, and then energetic field stuff. It holds on to all of the emotions from the traumas, from the programming. Absolutely. And boy, that's where breath work comes in, because that massages the vagal nerve, and that's where massage and fascia release comes in, and getting energy healing done, getting acupuncture, Reiki, whatever floats your boat. But yes, you said it perfectly. It's all connected. And
it's been a wonder to chat with you today, and I would love to chat with you again.
Likewise, this has been a blast. Thank you so much. I love talking about this stuff.
Oh my, what a wonderful and powerful conversation we've just had with Jennifer. And if you'd like to know more about reprogramming your subconscious mind, do click on those links below and reach out to Jennifer. And if today's discussion really resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, or even share this episode with someone else who may take benefit from it. You are also welcome to check us out at www.sacredu, that's the letter U, .love for more tools, resources, and empowering connection. Remember, your life is in your hands, so take this journey now whilst you have the opportunity. Have a beautiful day, and we will see you next time.